The massive ship appeared suddenly, materializing above Earth's atmosphere on a Tuesday morning. Its hull gleamed like polished obsidian, reflecting sunlight in strange patterns that astronomers quickly realized were not random. Within hours, every major observatory and space agency had confirmed what many had long suspected: humanity was not alone. Admiral Park stood at the command center of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching as technicians scrambled to analyze the alien vessel. At 53, Park had spent his entire career preparing for this possibility, though many had called him paranoid. Now, as the massive ship settled into a geosynchronous orbit, his preparation would be tested. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported Lieutenant Choi, her eyes fixed on her display. "The translation software is attempting to decode." The main screen flickered, then displayed a humanoid figure with gray-blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its mouth seemed too wide for its narrow face, and when it spoke, the voice that emerged was a synthetic approximation transmitted through Earth's own communication systems. "We are representatives of the Caraxian hegemony," the alien announced. "Your world has been registered as a developing system within our territory. We require immediate discourse with your governing authority." Admiral Park exchanged glances with General Kim, who had rushed to the command center from a meeting in Seoul. Both understood the implications. The alien presence wasn't exploratory, it was imperial. "Respond that Earth's representatives will meet with them," Park ordered. But only under controlled conditions. Within 6 hours, a delegation had assembled at the International Space Station, hastily retrofitted for the encounter. Admiral Park, General Kim, and 4 senior diplomats from major Earth powers waited as the alien shuttle docked. Commander Day of the Caraxian forces entered first. Taller than the humans by nearly a foot, he moved with fluid grace despite the station's artificial gravity. Behind him followed 2 guards and what appeared to be an advisor, all wearing fitted uniforms of an iridescent material. "Your development has proceeded more quickly than our records indicated," Commander Day stated without preamble. "This station is unexpected. We've been exploring space for decades," Admiral Park replied cautiously. The alien made a dismissive gesture. "Limited exploration. Your species has not yet achieved true interstellar capability. By hegemony standards, you qualify as a Category 3 civilization, technologically advancing but pre-galactic." General Kim stepped forward. "And what does that classification mean for Earth?" Commander Day's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "It means your world must now fulfill its obligations to the hegemony that claims this sector. Your system contains resources valuable to our empire." The human delegation tensed as Commander Day continued. "Your world will provide tribute resources, conscripts, and technology, or face pacification. You have 30 standard days to comply with our initial requirements." Admiral Park kept his expression neutral despite the threat. "And these requirements are?" The alien advisor stepped forward, producing a small device that projected detailed specifications into the air between them. 10,000 metric tons of rare earth elements. 5,000 human conscripts for labor forces. Complete access to your digital networks and scientific databases. The room fell silent. Finally, a diplomat from the European Union spoke. "This is slavery. Earth will not submit to such demands." Commander Day's mouth stretched in what might have been amusement. "Your consent is preferred but not required. The hegemony has incorporated thousands of worlds, many far more advanced than yours. Resistance would be inefficient." Admiral Park studied the alien carefully. "We'll need to consult with our governments." "Of course. 30 standard days for your response. Our ship will remain in orbit." Commander Day turned to leave, then paused. For context, the last world that refused tribute was reduced to a mining colony. Its former population now extracts resources from their own planet for our use. After the aliens departed, Earth's Security Council convened an emergency session. Leaders from every nation watched recordings of the encounter, faces grim as the implications became clear. "They expect us to surrender without a fight," General Kim noted. "They see us as primitives." Admiral Park nodded slowly. "Yes. And perhaps that mistake will be their undoing. As night fell across the Pacific, Park stood alone at his office window, watching the stars. Somewhere above, the alien vessel waited for Earth's submission. What they didn't know, what almost no one on Earth knew, was that humanity had been preparing for this day for nearly 20 years, ever since the discovery in the Martian caverns. Park picked up a secure phone and dialed a number used only 3 times in the past decade. Dr. Lee? It's time to activate Project Sentinel. They've finally arrived. In the shadowy depths of a forgotten military warehouse, a secret arsenal lay hidden from the world's prying eyes. Jake Miller, a retired military intelligence officer, had stumbled upon something that would change everything. His weathered hands traced the outlines of dusty metal containers, each one holding a potential nightmare. The warehouse stood on the outskirts of a small industrial town, its brick walls covered in moss and rust. Decades of silence had settled like a thick blanket over the forgotten space. Jake's flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing rows of carefully stored equipment that seemed to whisper stories of hidden missions and classified operations. As he moved deeper into the warehouse, a strange collection of specialized weapons caught his attention. They were unlike anything he had seen in his years of military service. Sleek, compact devices with unusual markings suggested technologies far beyond conventional military equipment. Some looked like they could have been designed for purposes no standard soldier would ever understand. His fingers brushed against a sealed metal case. The lock was complex, but Jake's years of intelligence work had taught him patience. With careful movements, he worked to open the container. His heart raced with each passing moment, sensing that he was about to uncover something extraordinary. The case clicked open. Inside, a series of documents and strange technological components revealed a story that seemed almost impossible. These were not just weapons, but advanced prototypes that could potentially change the balance of global power. Jake realized he had discovered something that could never be allowed to fall into the wrong hands. Shadows danced around him as he carefully examined each item. A small device caught his eye. It looked like a communication system, but its design was unlike anything in current military technology. The circuits were intricate, almost organic in their complexity. Jake understood that what he was seeing represented years of secret research. Outside, the night grew darker. The warehouse seemed to breathe around him, holding its secrets close. Jake knew he had 2 choices: report his discovery or protect what he had found. The weight of potential global consequences pressed down on his shoulders. His military training kicked in. He began documenting everything methodically, taking careful photographs and making detailed notes. Each item told a story of advanced research that had been hidden from the world. Some devices looked like they could disrupt entire communication networks, while others seemed designed for surveillance beyond current technological capabilities. A strange device resembling a compact satellite transmitter particularly intrigued him. Its design suggested capabilities that could penetrate any existing communication security systems. Jake realized this single piece of technology could be worth millions to the right buyer, or extremely dangerous in the wrong hands. As dawn approached, Jake knew he had to make a decision. The arsenal before him represented more than just weapons. It was a testament to hidden technological developments that could reshape global security. Every item told a story of secret research, of possibilities that existed just beyond the edge of known technology. His mind raced with possibilities. Who had created these devices? What purpose did they serve? The warehouse held more questions than answers, and Jake understood that his discovery could either protect humanity or potentially threaten its very existence. With careful precision, he began to document and secure the most critical items. Each movement was calculated, each decision weighed against potential consequences. The hidden arsenal was no longer just a collection of mysterious objects, it was a potential turning point in human technological development. As morning light began to creep through the warehouse windows, Jake Miller stood surrounded by the most extraordinary collection of secret technology he had ever encountered. The world outside remained unaware of the potential revolution sitting in this forgotten building, waiting to be understood. The story of the hidden arsenal was just beginning, and Jake knew he was now its unexpected guardian. In the quiet town of Millbrook, where secrets often lurked beneath the surface, Sarah Matthews stood frozen by her kitchen window. The early morning mist curled around the edges of her garden, creating an eerie landscape that matched the chill running down her spine. 2 days ago, she had discovered something strange in her grandfather's old study. Hidden behind a loose wooden panel, a weathered envelope contained a series of cryptic notes and a single photograph that seemed to hold more questions than answers. The image showed an old lighthouse perched on a rocky cliff, with a shadowy figure standing near its base. Her grandfather, Thomas Matthews, had always been a mysterious man. A retired marine researcher who rarely spoke about his past, he had passed away 6 months earlier, leaving behind a house full of dusty journals and unexplained documents. Sarah had always been curious, but now she felt something more, a growing sense of unease that she couldn't shake. The notes she found were fragmented, written in her grandfather's neat but hurried handwriting. They spoke of something discovered during a research expedition decades ago, something that was never meant to be found. Words like dangerous and must be stopped were scattered across the pages, hinting at a threat that seemed both ancient and immediate. As she traced her fingers over the photograph, Sarah noticed a small detail she had missed before. Near the lighthouse's base, almost blending into the rocky terrain, was a symbol carved into the stone, an intricate design that looked both familiar and completely alien. Her phone rang, breaking the silence. It was her best friend, Michael, who worked at the local historical society. "Sarah," he said, his voice tight with tension, "I've been researching those symbols you sent me. They're not just random markings. They're connected to something much older." Michael explained that similar symbols had been found in archaeological sites along the coastal regions, always associated with unexplained disappearances and strange environmental phenomena. The research was fragmented, with most scholars dismissing it as folklore or coincidence. But Sarah knew this was different. The way her grandfather had written those notes, the intensity of his warning, this was real. Something was out there, waiting, watching. That afternoon, she decided to visit the local library. Old maritime records, research journals, and historical archives might provide more context. As she pulled into the parking lot, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. A dark sedan seemed to pause momentarily as she walked towards the library entrance, its tinted windows revealing nothing. Inside, surrounded by shelves of dusty books, Sarah began her investigation. Hours passed as she cross-referenced her grandfather's notes with historical records. Slowly, a disturbing picture began to emerge, a pattern of unexplained events stretching back over a century, all centered around the coastal region where the lighthouse stood. Each document she uncovered added another layer to the mystery. Strange marine incidents, sudden ecological changes, and a series of disappearances that local authorities had never fully explained. And at the center of it all, that recurring symbol. As the library began to empty and shadows lengthened, Sarah realized she was no longer just searching for information. She was uncovering a warning, a message her grandfather had desperately tried to communicate before his death. Something was coming. Something that had been waiting, hidden from human understanding, for a very long time. And now, somehow, Sarah had become the unexpected guardian of this knowledge. When she finally left the library, the dark sedan was gone. But a folded piece of paper tucked under her windshield wiper told her that her investigation had not gone unnoticed. 3 words were scrawled in what looked like hurried, almost desperate handwriting: "Stop looking now." But Sarah knew she couldn't stop. Not now. Not when she was so close to understanding the truth her grandfather had died trying to protect. The warning was clear. And her journey was just beginning. In the heart of the bustling city, a small group of activists gathered near the central square. Their faces were a mix of determination and nervous energy. Sarah, their leader, stood at the front, her hands gripping a handmade sign with bold letters. The morning was crisp, and people began to notice the growing crowd. Some stopped to watch, while others hurried past, avoiding eye contact. Old men in suits glanced nervously from nearby office windows. Young students with backpacks started to cluster around the edges of the demonstration. Sarah had spent weeks planning this moment. Her team had carefully prepared their message, practicing their speeches and organizing their formation. They wanted to show the city that ordinary people could make a difference. Their cause was simple but powerful. They demanded better working conditions for workers in local factories. As the clock struck 10, the group began to move. They walked in a tight, organized line, their signs held high. The sound of their footsteps echoed on the concrete sidewalk. Passing cars slowed down, drivers craning their necks to understand what was happening. A police officer approached, his hand resting casually on his radio. But he didn't stop them. Instead, he watched carefully, making sure the demonstration remained peaceful. Some people in the crowd started to chant. Their voices grew stronger with each step. Sarah's voice rang out clearly. She spoke about workers' rights, about fair wages, about the dignity of labor. Her words were simple but powerful. People on the street began to listen. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked uncomfortable. A group of factory workers who happened to be nearby started to join the march. Their work clothes were still dusty from the morning shift. They understood the message better than anyone. Their presence gave the demonstration more weight, more authenticity. The local news van arrived unexpectedly. A young reporter jumped out, camera in hand. She began filming the growing crowd, capturing the energy and passion of the moment. Sarah remained calm, knowing that media attention could help spread their message. As they reached the city center, the crowd had grown. What started as a small group was now a significant gathering. People from different backgrounds, students, workers, office employees, all stood together. Their signs told stories of struggle and hope. The city seemed to pause and watch. Traffic slowed. People stopped their daily routines to understand what was happening. The demonstration was peaceful but powerful. No one could ignore their presence anymore. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. The crowd remained strong, their spirit unbroken. Sarah continued to lead, her voice never wavering. She knew that change didn't happen overnight, but moments like these were important. By late afternoon, the demonstration began to wind down. But its impact was already clear. People were talking. The local news was broadcasting their message. Officials who had ignored their concerns before were now forced to listen. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Sarah felt a mix of emotions. Tired but proud, she knew they had made a statement. They had shown that ordinary people could stand up and be heard. The city would be different after today. The streets slowly returned to normal. But something had changed. The demonstration had planted a seed of hope, a belief that people could work together to make things better. Sarah smiled, knowing their journey was just beginning. In the fading light of evening, the city seemed to breathe differently. The stories of the day would be shared, discussed, remembered. A small group of activists had reminded everyone that passion and unity could create real change. In the vast darkness of space, the remnants of humanity drifted like forgotten seeds. The massive generation ship Horizon, once a beacon of hope, now crawled through the infinite void, its systems barely functioning. Captain Elena Rodriguez stared out the main viewing window, her weathered hands gripping the control panel. Decades had passed since their desperate escape from Earth's dying atmosphere. The ship carried the last 5,000 humans, a tiny fragment of a civilization that had once dominated an entire planet. Generations had been born and died between the stars, knowing only the cold metal corridors and recycled air of their floating home. Suddenly, the ship's ancient sensors flickered to life. Something was approaching, an enormous energy signature unlike anything they had ever encountered. The crew held their breath, decades of survival instincts making them tense and alert. The object revealed itself slowly, a massive construct that seemed part machine, part living organism. Its surface shifted and pulsed with strange colors that human eyes struggled to comprehend. Communication systems crackled with an alien frequency, sending chills down the spines of everyone on the bridge. Young scientist Marcus Chen, a third-generation ship resident, began analyzing the signals. His fingers danced across holographic displays, trying to decode the mysterious transmission. What he discovered made his blood run cold. This wasn't just another cosmic object, it was a living intelligence that had been waiting, watching their approach for possibly centuries. The alien construct began to move, matching the Horizon's trajectory with impossible precision. Its movements were fluid, almost organic, defying the traditional understanding of spacecraft mechanics. Captain Rodriguez realized they were being studied, perhaps evaluated like specimens under a microscope. Survival protocols kicked in. Emergency power systems hummed to life, shields flickered, and weapon systems, primitive by cosmic standards, prepared for potential conflict. But something told Rodriguez that traditional warfare meant nothing to this entity. Marcus's translations started to make sense. The construct was communicating, but not in words. It was sending complex emotional and conceptual waves that challenged human perception. Images of distant galaxies, collapsed civilizations, and intricate cosmic networks flooded their communication screens. The message was clear: humanity was not alone, and their journey had been anticipated long before they even left Earth. This encounter would determine not just their survival, but potentially the entire future of their species. Children in the ship's communal areas stopped playing. Elderly survivors paused their daily routines. Everyone felt the profound shift happening around them. Something monumental was about to unfold, something that would rewrite everything they understood about existence. Captain Rodriguez made a decision. Instead of defensive postures, she chose communication. Using the ship's most advanced translation algorithms, she attempted to respond to the alien construct's complex signal patterns. It was a risk one wrong move could mean total destruction. Hours passed. The construct remained alongside them, its massive form creating an impossible shadow against the starry background. No aggressive moves were made, but the tension was unbearable. Each moment felt like an eternity of waiting, of wondering whether first contact would mean salvation or annihilation. Marcus continued decoding, his hands shaking with a mixture of terror and excitement. The alien construct seemed to be waiting, observing, testing their response. Humanity's entire future might depend on these next few moments of interaction. The horizon drifted forward, its inhabitants holding their collective breath. Generations of hope, struggle, and survival had led them to this singular moment in cosmic history. Whatever happened next would change everything they knew about their place in the universe. As strange energy waves continued to pulse between the human ship and the alien construct, one thing became absolutely certain: their journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning.